Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
No, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Huge numbers.
Look, it's really concerning. So, we all heard the Child Q case, the young girl in Hackney who was strip searched in school. And I was concerned because I want relationships to be between children and the police to be really strong and trusting. And I want, children to know that police will keep them safe and have their well-being at their heart. So I thought, look, I will call for this data from the Metropolitan Police to make sure it was an isolated incident. Well, I'm really shocked and sad to say it's not. So between 2018 and 2020, 650 strip searches, intrusive searches, where children are not arrested, it's stop and search, then taken to a police station or home. For 1 in 5 of them, we don't even know where they were taken because the data is poor. The 2021 data was so poor I couldn't use it. And in a quarter of those cases of 10 to 17-year-olds being strip searched, there wasn't even an appropriate adult. That means no mum, no dad, no carer, that child on their own, and we know how difficult that is for children.
Just be clear, what's the law on strip searching a child?
The law is that an appropriate adult should be there.
Regardless?
Regardless.
Right. And there's a racial disparity to this as well, which is also massively concerning.
Absolutely. So in 2018, 70% of children who were strip searchers, that's 10 to 17-year-olds, were black boys. And over the 3-year period, it's over 50% of children. Now, the data speaks for itself. That's not good enough. About 20% of children in London are BAME, are black and ethnic minority. So for this to be so high is not good enough.
Massively overrepresented in strip searches, massively represented in stop and search as well, but that's something else that we will not talk about right now. And you got the data from the Metropolitan Police. Concern that if you look at the other 42 forces, it will be the same story?
So what I've decided to do is call for this data from every police authority in the UK. But I'm not just going to do it once. I'm going to keep looking at this data to make sure that it improves and sharing this data. My particular powers as Children's Commissioner mean that any public body has to give me data they hold on children. So I'm going to use that power for this end. And I want to see change. Sorry isn't good enough. Now, the Met have made some changes. They have updated their guidance. Now, at inspector level has to sign off, Inspector Command has to sign off these strip searches.
Right.
But, and we all know policing is difficult. We know that children might be at risk of gangs, criminal exploitation. We know that sometimes, these things have to happen. But, 50% of those 600 strip searches, no further action was taken. That raises the question for me about whether they were actually proportionate and should have been undertaken. So, I wanted to raise awareness on this to make things better.
So what more do you want to see from the Met? You said that there some changes have come in with an inspector having to sign off. I mean, first of all, do you think that's enough? Does that go far enough?
Right, it's a good start. But, we need clear training and guidance on safeguarding. Just because...
It should be pretty clear, though, that you don't strip search a child without an adult being present.
Absolutely.
Surely that's understood.
Absolutely. So, first of all, policing, it's policing, it's difficult, but a child's well-being and safety has to be both taken into account before, during and after this level of intrusive search. That needs to be absolutely embedded. An appropriate adult must be there. I need real questions answered as to whether the use of strip searches is proportionate. I'm concerned about that. I am going to be sending this information to Baroness Casey, who's reviewing the Met, and the highest authorities, over the police, to make sure that this is looked at. It needs to be better.
Look, let's take this a little bit wider then, because I do wonder what the knowledge that these strip searches happen, because these kids must probably know someone who has been strip searched in this way without an adult present. What does that do to those young men who are then going out in their daily lives and having to deal with this sort of thing, and the relationship between them and the police?
Absolutely, men and girls. 5% at least were girls. And, of course, there's the upset, the anger, the ongoing sort of mistrust. I, as Children's Commissioner, want to make sure there are trusted, positive relationships between children and the police. Children tell me they want to be kept safe, they need to be kept safe. There's going to have to be a lot of change here to make that happen, but we must commit to trying to make it happen. Otherwise, these things are going to fester. As a parent, can you imagine how you would feel if it was your child? Can you just imagine? So this must improve, and I'm not going to stop until it does.
Sure you will not, Dame Rachel de Souza. Thank you very much for that.